This clock is counting down to Bitcoin doubling in price. Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and in today's video, I'm going to be explaining why one clock dictates when Bitcoin will double and when Bitcoin will enter a bull market that will likely lead it to over $100,000 in price. In this video, I'm going to be giving you my year-ends Bitcoin price prediction for the year of 2023, and I'm going to show you two different charts, one having to do with the halving cycles and indicators, one having to do with the halving cycles and market structure, and I'm going to show you how that clock dictates all of Bitcoin's price action in the long term. You see, I believe that about $3 to $5 trillion are going to enter Bitcoin over the next 3 to 5 years. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly why. So without much further ado, guys, let's go ahead and dive right on into it. Today's video is brought to you by our very own Club DeFi's Principles of Technical Analysis. Go to cryptojeb.com, scroll down, click this button, and you will find Principles of Technical Analysis. This is the academy where we will teach you everything that you need to know about technical analysis so that you can get started profiting in the cryptocurrency space today. This ominous looking clock is not a doomsday clock. It is in fact the Bitcoin halving clock. And at the moment, there's a little under 400 days left on it. And you can see the estimated time of arrival of the next Bitcoin halving is April 14th, 2024. What is a Bitcoin halving? Very simply, there is a certain amount of Bitcoin in circulation. That Bitcoin is created through something called a mining process. Every 10 minutes, a block is mined. Bitcoin is then given as a reward to whoever manages to mine that block. That Bitcoin is then injected into the ecosystem. Every 4 years, the amount of Bitcoin that is injected into the ecosystem every 10 minutes gets cut in half. That changes the token issuance of Bitcoin in such a way that it dramatically impacts the inflationary mechanics for Bitcoin and dictates the entire market. I'm going to prove that in today's video, but I'm also going to use that proof to predict where Bitcoin is going next. We start on this chart where, believe it or not, every single drawing has a purpose. We'll first start with our vertical blue lines. Those represent the halving dates. Again, every 4 years, Bitcoin's block reward gets cut in half. Those dates are as follows: July 9th, 2016, May 11th, 2020, and we anticipate the 14th of April, 2024. Next, I've outlined 4 certain colored boxes here, and I've also outlined 3 major zones. Let's go over those zones first. These zones, which show up right here, here, and here, constitute what we call accumulation phases. These red boxes here, here, and here constitute what we call bear markets, and these green zones right here constitute what we call bull markets. But to understand the bull and bear market cycles, we first must understand these horizontal zones right here, here, and here. You see, these zones essentially denote the area where Bitcoin fell below after the bear market ended and then began trading sideways. You can see here in 2015, Bitcoin fell below this critical zone, and instead of moving in a bearish direction as it did in the bear market, instead it started trading sideways, which of course, if you are going to start moving to the upside from going down, at some point you have to stop and reverse. That's what this was. This accumulation zone was an area where Bitcoin began its reversal to the upside. The same thing happened here at the end of 2018 and the beginning of 2019. When Bitcoin was in this zone, it was trading sideways and it was ending the bear market, moving into the next bull market. And that's exactly where we find ourselves right now. At least at the time of recording this video anyway, Bitcoin is below $25,236. I'm hoping at some point in the next few months it will be above that level. But $25,236 is the beginning of this transitionary zone right here that we've seen in the last couple of bull market, bear market accumulation cycles, as I just showed you. Bitcoin must now break through that transitionary zone, breaking through on the bottom $25,236 and on top above $28,545, and then it can begin moving into the next bull market territory. This zone in our current market is composed of a bottom at $25,236, which is a local level of resistance that we set on the 14th of August in 2022, and our high at $28,545 is set by a low that we set on June 20th in 2021. That transitionary zone dictates whether or not Bitcoin is in a bull market, and if it does break through it, then we begin the first stage of a bull market, which we will speak about a little bit later. Now, the other components of the market here are relatively straightforward. Red means bear market, we are moving to the downside. Green means bull market, we are moving to the upside. But there is a very special part of the bull market that I believe we may be about to enter right now, and it shows up in these blue boxes. This is the territory after we've broken out of accumulation, but before the halving. Typically, these are not zones that we sit in very long. Typically, these are zones that we sit in for a year, maybe a year and a half at most. And during this time, often we do see rallies. For example, here we saw 113%. Here we saw between 30 and 80%. But largely, the market is trading sideways, preparing and waiting for the halving. These blue regions represent what I call the pre-halving phase of the bull market. And as you can see, with our halving coming up, if we are able to break out of accumulation above this zone, then that is exactly where we will be sitting in that hones us in a little bit closer to our ultimate price target. In short, and to conclude for this chart, Bitcoin must break above $25,236 and then get above $28,545 with confidence, and then it can enter into this blue zone, which is the beginning of the bull market that happens pre-halving, that again I call the pre-halving phase of the bull market. Now, moving on to our next chart, we're also talking about the halving, but I want to show you a grouping of factors that take place technically before the halving that gives us an idea as to where we are moving in the near future. There are 4 types of vertical lines on this chart. First and foremost, we have our halving vertical lines. You can see those here denoted in blue and denoted by the word halving at the bottom. The second vertical lines here are difficult to see, but they denote golden crosses on the daily chart. You can see them denoted in text here at the bottom of the screen. Our next 2 lines represent bullish MACD crosses on the weekly chart, and then also the RSI crossing above 50 on the weekly chart. Let's analyze these one halving cycle at a time. The first halving on Bitcoin took place on November the 5th of 2012. Before that took place, multiple things happened. First and foremost, we saw RSI on the weekly chart cross above 50, as you can see right here. In crossing above 50, the RSI moved into new territory above 50, where it would stay for over a year, indicating that the bulls on the weekly chart were in dominant position. Secondly, and actually before the RSI did that, we saw MACD cross bullish here on the 26th of December 2011, leading into the halving, which would take place a year later. Then, right around the same time that the RSI crossed bullish above that 50 line, the MACD line also crossed above its center line and went into a major rally as well, indicating quite a lot of bullish strength on the weekly chart. Then moving down to the daily chart, we can see on February the 8th of 2012, we saw a golden cross where the 50 crossed above the 200 daily moving average, and those moving averages stayed in a bullish setup for multiple years until April of 2014. All 3 of these events, the weekly chart MACD crossing bullish, the weekly RSI crossing above 50 and staying above 50, and the daily chart golden cross, all preceded the halving, and post-halving, Bitcoin would go through a rally of 12,000% in a year. Jumping forward to the halving that took place the 9th of July 2016, the exact same thing takes place. If we look at the daily chart golden cross, we can see that there is a golden cross that took place right here on the 26th of October 2015. That golden cross led us into that halving. There is another golden cross over here. This is basically just a repeat of that golden cross. Both of them are valid, although the second one is the one that historically bears more significance. Likewise, on the weekly chart, pre-halving, Bitcoin managed to get its RSI above 50 and stay above 50 consistently for 2 years moving into the bull market. That was pre-halving in setup for the halving. Likewise, on the weekly chart, we saw a bullish MACD cross come in right around Valentine's Day 2015. That was over a year before the halving took place, but again, right around the time that the RSI crossed above 50, MACD was moving above the 0 level as well, preparing the market for halving and bull market. After all of those events took place and the halvings came into play, we saw Bitcoin rally 3,000% in 1.5 years. Moving on to the third halving in Bitcoin's history. The halving took place on the 11th of May 2020. Preceding that, we saw Bitcoin have a golden cross right here on the 24th of April 2019, and we also saw our bullish MACD cross come into play on the 11th of February 2019, and RSI cross above that fateful 50 level right here around the 1st of April 2019. And generally speaking, other than some of the pandemic woes, Bitcoin would stay above 50 on the RSI for quite some time before the halving. Notice, all of these events normally took place about a year pre-halving. We are currently roughly 1 year pre-halving, and every single one of these has already flashed. On the weekly chart, we have already seen MACD cross bullish. We are already seeing the MACD move to the upside and crossing above the 0 level here in 2023. And as of January 2023, RSI for the weekly chart on Bitcoin is well above 50. Likewise, we've seen the daily chart golden cross come into play on the 6th of February of 2023. And just to throw more fuel on the fire, we've also seen a buy signal from Lux Algo on the weekly chart. And we've also seen the 50 come down and actually converge with and cross below the 200 in what most would call a death cross, but I would actually call a very bullish event. I've explained that in previous videos. Every time these 2 moving averages come close, you're about to go into a bull market, and we've just seen that take place as well. In short, Bitcoin is perfectly set up to move into that pre-halving phase of the bull market very soon. Now it just needs to break above the zone between $25,236 and $28,545. From henceforth, we'll call that the transitionary zone. For Bitcoin to get above the transitionary zone, that's a topic that we'll discuss every single day on Coffee and Crypto. But for you, if we get above the transitionary zone, then this is what takes place, and this is the price target that I have for the end of the year. Going back to our original chart, we can see in blue, oftentimes Bitcoin is not the most bullish during this blue pre-halving phase of the bull market, but it is preparing and it is getting ready, and oftentimes there can be pretty large rallies that take place inside of that zone. That zone, in my opinion, would likely lead us up to this price target. I would give it between $35,000 and $50,000 by year's end. I think $50,000 is a little bit aggressive, but I could definitely see Bitcoin above 35, trading up towards 40, and I could see Bitcoin coming up here based on all of the technicals that we've analyzed and bouncing around between 28,545 on the low end, that being the transitionary zone, and $40,000 to $45,000 on the high end. It is very possible that Bitcoin sets a major wick in motion and just rallies straight up to $50,000, but whether or not we would close that high at the end of this year is certainly questionable. But remember, post-halving, that's when the majority of the gains in the bull market take place. That's certainly what happened during the last bull market and the bull market before that. Pretty much all of the gains took place after the halving, 3,500% in 2016 and 17, 700% in 2020 and 2021. This blue box is where we're heading in the next 3 to 6 months, and we're likely going to sit there for the rest of the year, and then moving into the second half of 2024, you're going to see a bull market that will drive Bitcoin to well over $100,000. And if I told you every single reason that I believe that's going to take place, this video would be 3 hours long. These are just a few of the factors that I think are going to impact things. To that end, I would also encourage you to watch a couple of other videos that we've made on this topic about Bitcoin's future over the next couple of years. We made a video on the balance sheet and how that is one of the biggest drivers of Bitcoin. I would argue the halving cycles and the balance sheets, depending on the day, the week, the month, and the year, are either number 1 or number 2 biggest drivers of the Bitcoin market. We also made a video on the stock market, the SPY. That video is titled How the Fed is Making $17 Trillion Vanish. I would highly encourage you to go watch that video as well, because the SPY, the stock market, is a huge driver of the Bitcoin market right now. There you have it. My price target for Bitcoin for the end of the year is between $35,000 and $50,000, which would be roughly a double by year's end. Moving in towards the halving, I could see Bitcoin trading as high as $55,000. By the end of this halving cycle, the one coming up, I could see Bitcoin having topped out between $100,000 and $200,000, but we'll analyze my bull market price prediction in another video. This was my price prediction for the end of 2023. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and make sure to sign up for Club DeFi's Principles of Technical Analysis so you can learn how to do all of the technical analysis that we just did in this video. Every single bit of it is covered over there so that you can go and make these kind of predictions and these kind of price targets and these kind of investments on your own in a profitable way. So make sure to check it out with the link in the description box down below or by going to cryptojeb.com. Before I go, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.